Do you have bad habits? Do you want to create good habits? Do you feel like I start a habit, I don't know why I can't keep a habit, yada, yada, yada? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Why you have the bad habits, but more importantly, how can you create new ones? Check it out. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Positivity Experience. It's your girl, Lori, and I am so excited that we are here. It is also August. Happy August. Yes, we are in the tail end of the summer. For some of you, you are sad. For me, I have loved summer. I have summered out of summer. And I probably enjoyed summer more this year than I probably have in the past, just because it's usually hot and all those things. But I've really been getting out there. But I am always looking forward to pumpkin spice season. And we are now starting to just tippy toe. This is like the pre-pumpkin season. Pre-pumpkin spice season, and I'm pretty excited about it. So happy August. I'm glad that you're here. And let's talk about habits, all right? Because this is important. Over on Patreon, I have a really good worksheet that's going to give you an idea of what your habits are now versus how you want them. And we're going to talk about today the importance of why you have the bad habits, what it looks like to implement good ones, and why self-discipline is a big factor, right? I didn't ask if you want to do it. I didn't ask if you have motivation. I don't care how you feel. I don't care how you feel when it comes to your habits. It's what are you willing to do to be the best person that you want, to be the person that you want to be. So if you want that worksheet, it's something I always recommend. It gives you a good starting place. Hop over to patreon.com/the positivity experience, or follow the link anywhere in the show notes that you're getting the show right now. So let's talk about habits. And I want to talk to you about how just easy peasy it's been for me to set good habits. That's being extremely sarcastic. I have ADHD, I have OCD, I have anxiety, I have anything with letters, like, well, my PTSD I've since worked through, but anything like that, anything mental that can be, let's call it a rope around me a little bit to kind of slow me down. So this is where routine is going to come into play. Now, routine, we're going to talk about, this is getting in the good habits. I'm going to go back here in a second, but routine, knowing what you're doing without any decision fatigue is real. And so making yourself have like good triggers, like happy triggers, positive triggers is going to be your best friend. Even if you don't have those things, sometimes establishing a new habit is going to be difficult for you. Now, you may have heard it takes 28 days to make a habit. You may have heard it takes, 45 days. No, it takes about 128 days. This does not mean that it won't already start to be a habit. It's going to start to really, you're going to get into it. After a few weeks, you're like, oh, okay, it's more consistent. By the 4th month, not only are you doing it, it's somewhat of an automatic thinking process, which can happen earlier, but give yourself that time to really see that consistency. Because sometimes people fall right off the wagon a week into it, and sometimes people can give themselves 30 days, but they're not fully there. So then they fall off that wagon again. So you want to be able to give yourself that time, and that's okay. Because look at your bad habits. Those things have been around for a long time now. And it's automatic, right? The habits that we do right now are automatic. Sometimes we don't even realize we're doing them. Sometimes they become so normal to us that we don't even know that they're habits. So why do we struggle to establish new habits? Because this is important. And we were talking about this last week. You got to be open to change. If you're not willing to adapt and you're not willing to let go of the control and walk into the unknown, then this is where the habits can become even harder. But number one with that is comfort zones. Comfort zone is fake. Oh my God, it's fake. Yes, I know. I mean, it's real, but it's fake, right? It's real that you're in it, but it's fake because it's not comfortable at all, right? Right now, if I said to you, well, you have two choices. You can either go ahead and clean out that closet, once each weekend, go pick 3 things in that closet, clean it out, or not, or just go watch Netflix. A lot of people are going to be like, well, I'd like to get it done, but if you're asking me, I'd rather watch Netflix. Yeah, because there's no effort there. There's no thought process. There's no discomfort there. It's your comfort zone. But then what happens is, now let's say you've done that. A month later, you're like, oh, I really caught up on that show, baby. I'm so excited. And then you go up to your closet again and you're like, well, there's that damn closet again. because that's not changing. Avoidance is not going to help this. But balance is going to be your key here, right? You can't have you going balls to the wall with it, talking about, well, I got to be in there and I got to clean this, I got to clean that. That's a problem. That's a problem. Because now you're dealing in perfectionism and you're not feeling your feelings. So if you feel like you always need to be doing something, it's no better than if you feel like you should never do something. It really isn't. It's not any better. So your comfort zone is where old habits are very comfortable, regardless of how bad they are. I mean, that's a comfort zone that you have. Well, I know the monster I'm dealing with. Why do you think so many people stay? And I don't mean an abusive relationship. So that's not where I'm going with this. But think about how many times people stay in situations where things aren't great for them. Let's say it's with a friend. Person's always nagging, always complaining, always doing that stuff. And then you're like, oh my God, they're draining. And what do? You go right back there. Why? Because you'd rather have the friend that you know than have to worry about going off and being by yourself or having to learn new people. So you'd rather just stick with the person that you have because you know the monster that you're dealing with, right? That's your comfort zone. So that's going to be harder for you to accept. Well, I have to be uncomfortable here. I got to be okay with hurting feelings. I got to be okay with being the villain. And I got to be okay with facing myself. Because a lot of times your bad habits are to keep you out of your headspace. Number 2 is a huge one, immediate gratification. This is the problem that most humans have. And it's one that I had. And I mean, I'd like to have a lot of money right now. Yes, I would like that right away. Yes, I'm not going to lie to you. But I know that that's just not, barring me hitting the lottery, that's just not really going to happen. But this is where you find people who are in those get rich quick schemes and, all of that. Well, if you do this, you can make all kinds of money. So now you're in it for instant gratification. Now you're in prison. You're like, how the hell did it end up here? Well, you wanted instant gratification. So that instant gratification, you'll see this a lot when people decide to stop healing themselves in therapies and coaching sessions. I will say most people who are with me stay for a while. Because I'm going to make you uncomfortable early on so you can see that you can do it. So then there's always a good challenge for you, but not everybody's going to do that. You might not want to do it. You might be like, this sucks. This is too much of a challenge. Oh, well, then it's not important to you, right? You got to ask what's important to you. And the positive habits aren't going to give you that instant gratification, right? So if you say all of a sudden, I'm not going to eat anything but 900 calories and I'm only going to eat protein. Well, okay, that may give you somewhat of an instant result of body weight loss. It's also not going to ever continue. Like you can't continue that lifestyle. So then when it comes back, now you feel worse than you did before because you wouldn't go through the 1 to 2 pound weight loss, which is healthy for you, right? So your instant gratification is screwing you every single time. So that's why we hold on to a bad habit, because we know how the hell to use that habit. I do this, I get this right away. So if I do this and I get this, why would I change that? Okay, lack of clear goals. Oh my God, this is so huge. How are you going to set a good habit if you don't have goals, clear goals? A non-clear goal would be like, I just want to feel better. That's not a clear goal. I just want to lose weight. First of all, you're already doing that for a bad reason if you think it's aesthetically, though it's not going to hurt you to look in the mirror and see maybe a different size, but love who it is now, but you're doing it for a health purpose, right? What is your goal? If your goal is to get a fast fix, it's not a goal. It's not. You have got to accept today that you are X amount of years old, and it has taken you X amount of years to get to where we are today. And some of these old habits have been into your life and in your roster for, I don't know, more than half of your life. Yeah, you're probably not just going to listen to this podcast, read 5 books, and go see somebody live and be like, that's my new habit. No, but that also means you don't have to wait 30 years to change that habit. What it means is why? Why? Because I just don't want to feel this way anymore. That is not a clear goal. That is not a clear goal. What the hell is that? I don't want to feel this way anymore. Well, yeah, most of us listening to this don't want to feel that way, whatever that way is. But what's the goal? What's the impact of that goal? Like talking back to the decision that I was talking about. Okay. And then another issue that you have on why you can't maintain that is it's overwhelming because you're trying to change too many habits at once. Classic beginning of the year. This is classic. Okay, we're in the last week of December. New year is coming on. New year, new me. I'm going to get in the gym. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to declutter my house. I'm going to finally start that new job that I've been looking at. That shit is not going to happen. You want to talk about not incorporate any of those things and make that a habit? That's how you do it. That's how you do it. So a lot of the reasons why these healthy habits and good habits that you're seeking is not sticking is because you're trying to do 15 of them at one time. Nobody's going to want to do that because you're doing too much. You're doing too much. Of course, there's environmental triggers, right? Of course, we see that social media, TV, all of which you can have. But if you don't know how to balance it, then maybe you have to ice it for a minute. You have to put that on ice. We have environmental triggers of we're in a world, no matter where you're listening to this podcast, and I know some of you are overseas, over the pond. I can tell you what's going on in your country at this time if I just hit the old Google machine here and I hit this and I can pull it up. I can pull it up on live feed. I can pull it up on all of those things. We have instant gratification. We have overload. We have all these environmental triggers. That's part of it. So you got to make sure that those negatives become a positive trigger, which we'll talk about here in a second. Oh God. And then this one, this is a big one. This is number 6 and it's a big one. Fear of failure. Oh my God, I'm going to fail. Yeah, good. That's great. I love that you're failing. Love that for you. That's called learning. You know, the problem is you have it in your head somewhere that if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. And that's some bullshit that was sold to us when we were a child. If you can't do it right, don't do it at all. Well, that's going to make sure nobody does anything because now your version of right, you're like, okay, well, I got to do this right. Well, wait, what's right? Oh, I thought this was right. And dad says, no, that's not right. And you're like, huh. All right. Well, then I don't know what. Okay. Well, I got to try to figure it out. So now you're going above and beyond to try to do something that you don't know how to do and you're trying to do it right. And then you think you're supposed to be perfect at it. Fear of failure and perfection is basically the same thing. It's just different worded, right? It's just worded differently. Fear of failure, perfection. Same thing, right? It's the same reason why people sometimes will stay in relationships because they have this sense that says, if you get out of this relationship, somehow or another, you failed in this relationship. No, you're getting out of a relationship because you're finally seeing things clearer on what will and will not serve you. So you're getting out of it. Mindset switch. How are you going to see life? It's certainly not a failure. So if you're looking at it as a failure, that's how you're going to see it. And that's how you'll see everything else in it. So now we know the why you're struggling. So if you ever said, I don't know why and there's more, but those are the main ones. Oh, I don't know why I can't keep this habit. I don't know why I can't do that. Okay. Well, we just talked through it. So give yourself some compassion, realize your why. So now that you have the foundation of the why, you know that you're struggling to do that. Great. Now we have a foundational point. So how can you implement a positive habit and stay there? Well, it's going to take some serious commitment. Going to take a commitment and decision like we were talking about last week. 2 things. SMART goals, which there is a worksheet on Patreon, and there's a podcast on it here, as well as micro goals. Micro goals are your best friends once you SMART goal it. So let me explain. I'll just do it briefly because there's a whole podcast on it. SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. You can't just go like, yep, this is what I'm going to do. Okay, well, what's the time frame on it? Well, I mean, end of the year. Oh, we're 6 months into, no. Well, what? What are we going to do until we get there? Once you have the specific one, it's got to be specific. Not, I just want to feel better. Measurable. How are you going to measure that? Like what's the metrics for it? Attainable. Is it attainable for you to achieve? Is it attainable? Is it relevant to you, not anybody else? Because you saw it on Instagram. And is it time bound? What time frame are you putting on it? Now, once you know that goal, now insert step 2, micro goals. You have macro goals, big goals. You have micro goals, teeny tiny ones. So if it is, I'm going to go, I would like to move my body and go to the gym because I know it's good for my mind and my body. Let's say that that's where we are. That's the impact. That's the scenario, decision, impact. Okay. So you're not going to say, I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week. That's not going to happen. How about we start small? Okay. I used to be a personal trainer, and my clients, I would have them come in 3 days a week. Yes, because it's a commitment. It's giving yourself a 3-day commitment. And so, sometimes even when they don't want to go, they're going to do it. So what do? You create this next one, which is environmental triggers that are helpful for you. I will tell you, and if you follow my Instagram stories, you already know this. I am not little Miss Yippee. I'm going to get up and go do all of these amazing things because it's just second nature. It is second nature, but I have to remind myself every single day that A, this is good for me. B, I already have this on my routine. It is a habit. That doesn't mean I actually love it. I do love the after effect and the triggers. What does that mean? My dresser in my bedroom is right at the foot of my bed. I mean, I can access it. That's where I have everything in order. I have my sports bras. I have my exercise bottoms. I have the top. Okay. All I got to do is open and pull it up. I will find reasons why not to do that if I don't lay it out. So even if I'm going to do Patreon, good God, Peloton in my own room, I need that laid out. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to have a second to be like, well, I don't know if I want to do this. Lay it on the floor, lay it on the counter, lay it somewhere. It is a trigger. I get up. I'm like, I don't know if I want to go. I go to the bathroom. I'm like, oh, there's my workout stuff. Make it to where it's easy for you. That's a trigger. So once you have your SMART goal and you have your micro goal, you can create the triggers around that. And that's going to be important because those emotional triggers, those physical triggers are going to help you understand, okay, I need this to get here. You want to have the minimalist decision fatigue on the planet. This is why meal planning works. It's Tuesday, man. What am I going to do for dinner? Oh God, I don't know. What should I make? I don't know. Well, that's overwhelming versus saying, okay, I'm going to have tacos. Taco Tuesday. That's why I said it. But you know what? Maybe you made it a plan for Tuesday, but you got all of this stuff and you decide I don't want tacos, but I had this stuff for Wednesday, which was spaghetti. I'm going to swap off the days, but you have everything you need. You have to make it make sense and work for you. You are in charge of making these habits stick. You've got to create a routine. I do not care if you don't feel like doing it. I do not care. I don't give a damn. If you want this goal, you're going to have to make a routine and you're going to have to stick to it. This is why people have an early morning routine. Sometimes you have a lunchtime routine and you have an evening routine. The morning and the evening routine should never, ever include social media. Again, I've said this multiple times here. I don't scroll social media. Pinterest, I do. A little bit of YouTube, usually researching stuff. And I have a few things saved on my other platforms of like recipes or crochet projects. So I'll scroll just a little bit under those hashtags. Do not scroll in the morning. Do not scroll at night. Don't do that to yourself. And if you can't do that, well, then that's the first place you start. Why in the hell can I not do that? What do you think you're missing out on? You ain't missing out on anything. It ain't going anywhere. It's going fast as hell. It is a 24-hour news cycle. What's important news today can be gone tomorrow. So let's put you as a priority here. So what is the routine going to be? Mine is my morning routine. I have to have my morning routine. Doesn't mean I'm always at the gym, but I have to have it so I can do the journal, so I can do my meditations. That is important to me, and I'm not letting anybody wreck that. If you don't have a routine, this is the Howard Stern. He didn't create it, but he said it, and it's been in my head for years after he said it. If you can do it in 2 minutes, do it. Right? So if I can do it in 2 minutes, I do it then. Right? So let's say I have, again, this goes on YouTube. So right now I have a pen. See the pen? I have a pen, and let's say it goes in my little pen jar on my desk, and I have it sitting in the bathroom. I don't know why it's there. And I'm walking out of the bathroom. I'm not coming in to where the cup holder is, but I can do that in less than 2 minutes. I can carry my ass over here and put it in there. That's what you do. So you can take a note out of that and say, what can I do in 2 minutes or under? And just do that on the way. That's going to create a habit in itself. because you're not going to think, well, I'm going to avoid that, right? Because you can have things called clutter blindness, time blindness, where you're just like tunnel vision. I'm only paying attention to what I feel like it. I see it, but it's not important to me. So this will prevent that for you. So it's going to be very helpful. So you want to create those triggers. Can you do it 2 minutes or less? Know why you're doing it in the first place. Micro goal it and give yourself time. You are the tortoise. You are not the hare. I know it's the most cliche thing to say, but it makes sense. The tortoise and the hare make sense. That's why people use it all the time. Because the hare was like, I got this, man. I'm doing all this stuff. He's doing all this extra stuff, being extra for no reason, ends up losing. The tortoise was like, I'm good. I'm just chilling. He's laughing at me. All these people laughing at me. And then I'm the one finishing first because slow and steady wins the race. How are you going to track your progress? You need to have a trackable, attainable progress. How are you going to do that? What's the metric for that? Okay, so let's think of this together. Let's say you have decided you are going to organize your pantry. I was going to say closet, but I feel like I always say that. Your pantry. And let's pretend I do not have this large walk-in pantry, but let's pretend you have one of those home makeover pantries. But it's just got a little out of control, right? Things are everywhere. You can't find anything. Okay. And it just looks overwhelming. You're like, oh, damn. Okay. Well, maybe you're not going to do that all at one time. Maybe you're going to carve one little section out and that's what you're going to do. But you're going to have the macro goal of that whole entire closet or pantry done by 2 weeks from now, right? That's at time bound. So how specifically are you going to do that? When you micro goal it, it's going to automatically give you a trackable progress. What are you going to use to track it? Like, what's the metric? So you have to ask yourself, how do I want to track it? What does that look like? And what is it that I can give myself as a reward? Because the next one of that is going to be reward system. One of the biggest issues when people start a new habit is they still look at the times that they've fallen short of it or things that they still have to do. Oh man, that's great, but I still have so much more to go. Okay, pump your brakes. But didn't we just get through a bunch of stuff? Didn't you just be consistent for like 3 days in a row? Well, yeah, but it's only 3 days. Everybody starts at zero. Everybody starts at zero. Somebody has 15 million followers on, say, Instagram or TikTok or wherever you want it to be, started at zero. Every billionaire, millionaire you meet, I mean, they might have been born into money, right? So that's a little different. But the way back in the day, whoever was the originator started at zero. Everybody starts at zero, right? You see this a lot in rehab or any NA or AA, one day at a time. So you don't have to be an alcoholic in order to maintain that, one day at a time. That's a great motto. So what are you going to do to track your progress? And then what are you going to do to reward yourself? All right. So let me give you an example. So you say, okay, I'm going to get this pantry done within 2 weeks. This is my plan, my strategy, because I've written out my plan, not just that I want to get it done and I have a time-bound time to do it. So I've written this out. And you know what? When I get that accomplished, I am going to go get myself the cutest little, because by the way, side note, you never declutter and organize at the same time, ever. Never declutter and organize at the same time. You're just decluttering. So now that you've decluttered all this stuff out in 2 weeks and it's there, maybe you step back and you look and you're like, oh, that's cool. I mean, I'd like them in cuter little like caddies, right? Well, then your reward is I'm going to go get myself some caddies, but you're not going to do it beforehand because you don't declutter and organize at the same time. That's where people, side note, that's where people get totally overwhelmed. I'm going to declutter and I need to go to the container store and I'm getting all this stuff. And oh my God, now I'm just putting all this old stuff into here. You don't do that. But you got to reward yourself. It's okay that you still have places to go. It's okay that you still have healing to do. The healing part's going to be for the rest of your life. So you're going to have to give yourself some level of a reward system. Everybody works on reward systems. You're training a dog. You're either using a clicker or you'll use, I know a lot of my law enforcement canine cops, they'll use toy. They'll use like a ball, but you don't get that ball or that rope thing until you do said thing. Every human works on a reward system. So what reward can you give yourself to incorporate this? Because it's going to be tiny. And every tiny step is where the big steps are. Adjusting your environment is going to be the key. Okay? You've got to adjust your environment. If you find that there's too much going on, stop. Okay? If you find, well, you know what? I can't have 3 squares of a chocolate bar. I'm having 3 chocolate bars. Well, don't keep them in the house. Don't keep them in the house. All right? Well, I can't do this because I'm on my social media. First of all, social media is not that important. Number 1. Number 2, if it's that problematic, keep your phone in the car. Take it. Have somebody hold it. Delete it off of your phone. Delete your entire account. But now that goes into what are you willing to do and how important is your goal? So when you think of those 2 things, you're able to kind of go, okay, let me adjust my environment. If it isn't working for me, it's working against me. Always know that. If it isn't working for you, it's working against you. I mean, that's it. There's no gray area here. So you got to adjust it accordingly. Now, what's the role of self-discipline during all of this? Well, for one thing, you got to have clear intentions. Be clear about your why. Why beneath the why, beneath the why, beneath the why. What are your intentions behind this? And it cannot be to prove a point to somebody, to to get instant gratification. What's your clear intention? Practicing consistency. You have got to stick to it regardless of how you feel, regardless of what you're thinking, regardless of anything. Because now, if you've done this and you've thought about your intention, you've actually made a clear goal based on your intentions. You've smart goaled that out. Now you've micro goaled it and you've created a time-bound, trackable way. It pretty much is doing itself. But you got to do all those steps first. All those steps. And in order to do that, guess what? You got to show up. I'm tired. Don't care. Don't feel like it. Don't care. Self-discipline doesn't give a damn. Self-discipline is I'm going to do it even when I don't want to do it. I'm going to do it as the excuses come to me, which is going to be on here too, which is overcoming your excuses. You got to recognize and challenge those and prepare for those setbacks because you're going to think of this excuse. You're going to give yourself 56 reasons. Yeah, well, you know, I got this thing and okay. And yeah, you build in breaks. You're not going to work out 7 days a week or you're not going to do whatever it is. This is where things like meditation, non-negotiable. I don't know if I feel it, don't care. The moment you say, I don't feel like it, you're stepping outside of self-discipline. To say, okay, well, this is going to serve my best and highest good. This is how I'm going to get to my next level. Well, guess what? I'm going to do it, whether I like it or not. So know your intentions, practice consistency, and face your freaking challenges and excuses. Because the challenge of the excuses is where you get yourself caught up. Use willpower. You got to have willpower. And willpower is finite. Willpower is finite. So if you don't have willpower, right, pretend that you're on your cell phone, right, and you don't have willpower to get off. Why? Why? Yes, we know it's an addiction. It's an actual mental addiction. We know. Why? What is the willpower? What is it that you think that you're getting so much from this phone? Inclusivity, avoidance. People use social media as avoidant tactics 85% of the time. Okay, so what is your willpower? Staying patient. You've got to be patient. This is not overnight. You're going to go forward. You're going to go backwards. You're going to go forward. You're going to go backwards. And sometimes you're going to go, wow, I thought I was micro-goaling that, but I'm still learning micro-goaling. So maybe it wasn't as micro as I thought it was. And maybe that's not even as important as I wanted it to be. So you're always going to want to stop and reflect. I mean, that's just how life works. It's not static. It's not written in stone. If you're not willing to be patient, I have a whole podcast on patience. Go listen to it. Which again, patience means delayed gratification, right? So if you're like, you know what, I'm going to go run this 5K and I'm going to run this 5K next week. You've never ran. And if you have, it's been 20 years. You think you're just supposed to strap on those shoes and go? Well, that's how you're going to hurt yourself. Number one, that's how you're going to disappoint the hell out of yourself, because you're going to be like, I don't understand why I can't do it. Why? You didn't train for it. People train for marathon, unless you're an avid marathon runner. People train months for this, for one race, because it's a lot. So you say, okay, don't feel like running that 1 mile or half a mile or whatever it is that you're training because it's raining outside. Don't care. There is a, God, what is it? It is the 75 hard, 75 hard. You know what I'm talking about, right? Why do I think it's not 75? I think it's the 75 hard. Anyway, it is this challenge where you work out twice a day, morning and night. Morning and night. And one of them's outside. 75 days straight, by the way. You don't skip days. Oh, but it's raining. Yeah, don't care. Oh, it's hot. Don't care. There's a reason that these things are in play. It is to challenge you. Right? This is why it's there. But you got to stay patient, because guess what? You might start the 75 hard. That's what it is called. The 75 hard and get through 2 days and then you don't do anymore. Okay. Well, it's okay. It's all right. It's not a failure. It's a reality check. Ooh, this is a little bit harder than I thought, but I can do it. I'm not going to stop doing it because it's hard. I'm going to be more prepared. Not feeling like you're ready, getting better sneakers. Because it's so hot, you got to have a special fan around your neck. Now you're more prepared. So now you do it again. I know a lot of people who have done it, and it's taken, I just haven't. I mean, no specific reason. I've done other stuff being an ex-personal trainer, you know what I mean? But these are the things. If you're going to commit to it, why? For one thing, that's how you're going to build confidence. But you got to be patient. And it's always you against you. It's always you versus you. It's never you versus anybody else. It's you versus you. Mindset is my favorite part of this. Your mindset will make or break any habit that is positive that you have. And that is the growth mindset. Again, funny, have a podcast on it. I have a podcast on a lot of mindset stuff because it's one of my specialties. If your growth mindset is, I'm seeing this challenge as an opportunity, now we're on the right path. If you're looking at it and you're not looking at your excuses, you're looking at some challenges and works that you still need to do, and you're looking at it and going, okay, this is an opportunity for me. Okay, you know what? That didn't work out too well. Let me find a different opportunity. Maybe this isn't what I need at all. Maybe I need something totally different. Well, I'm learning that because I have a growth mentality. Because see, mindset is your master key to any lock that you will ever face. I told you life is 99% out of your control. Your willpower is not. Your willpower is in your control. Your self-discipline is in your control. You haven't been self-disciplined, so you're going to have to give yourself a little bit of compassion here. But there's no scenario where you're going to be ready to give yourself self-discipline. That's not how it works. Self-discipline is just what it says. And sometimes you got to jump in feet first, and this is where that is. So before you even do that, you want to establish your why, right? So let's sort of do a little bit of a recap, right? Because when we go over to Patreon, there's going to be a real in-depth sort of worksheet for you to really dive into. But knowing your why as to why it is not working. You're overwhelmed because you're trying to change too many things. Your environmental triggers. If something is triggering you that you are in control of removing, do that. Do that. Failure's great. Failure's beautiful. Accept that. Embrace it. If you can't, figure out why. Immediate gratification. Stop looking for your fast fixes. Stop doing that. Your lack of clear goals. I don't want to feel this way. I want this. That's not a goal. That is not a clear goal. Not even in the goal universe. Comfort zone. Oh, does it make you uncomfortable? Good, do that. The most uncomfortable option is always what I want to have you pick. So if you want to know why you can't do that, is there, but that not clear goal is a big one. I want to feel better is not a clear goal. It's not a clear goal. So you're going to have to sit on that, chew on that for a long while. All right. But when you're creating a routine, when you're starting small, when your goals are clear and specific, and you're using those triggers to benefit you, the positive triggers, you're tracking your progress. You're rewarding yourself and you're adjusting your environment and adapting to change. That's how you keep it. That's how you keep it. Because once you get it, you don't want to really let it go. And it's going to become automatic after about 4 months. That's when it's going to become more of an automatic process. See, I know legs at the gym are my least favorite thing that I do, so I make sure I do it first in the week. I try to front load my week with any of the things that I would normally be like, yeah, I don't really want to do it. So I'm going to front load the week so I can get that done because I know I'm capable. And I know the rest of the week becomes a little bit easier because I got those other things done. That's the important factor for you. What is your role of self-discipline? You have willpower. What's your growth mindset? Go listen to that podcast again. You might get more out of it. I don't care how impatient you are. I don't care. Because if you're not willing to do it and be patient, then you don't have a clear goal. Then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So if you feel like, well, I'm not being patient enough or I want this right now, that is not a clear goal then. Because a clear goal says, oh, this is going to be a little bit harder than I thought, and I'm going to use it as a challenge. And I'm going to overcome that because it's an opportunity. So that's your homework. What goals are you going to make for yourself? Why do you want to make them? And what steps are you going to take today to accomplish that? Check it out.